When I was in my 20s, the words simple living were nothing more than a foreign concept to me. I was one of those people who tried to pack 10 years of experience into 2 months. I wanted to do and accomplish so much so quickly that my mind was constantly scattered in a million directions. I had endless desires for things, for people's approvals, and for achievements that I felt completely lost and empty inside. It was only later on that I realized this is the definition of a complex life. Yes, from the outside, my life appeared great. My schedule was filled with work and social outings. I had a blossoming career in corporate America, and I had opportunities to live in so many different countries around the world. But on the inside, I felt exhausted. I realized I needed to change because deep inside, I wanted a life with more clarity and ease, and I felt like I just needed to ruthlessly cut out things in my life. Happiness is not the fulfillment of endless desires, but the reduction of desires. Living simply means knowing what is essential to your life and living in accordance with that. It is the simplification of everything in your life, from your goals to your possessions. And it means letting go of anything that doesn't fit the life you want. This is probably the first thing I learned to let go of in order to live more simply. Before, my mind used to be constantly clouded by other people's thoughts and demands. But I realized it's physically not possible for me to ever know what other people are thinking about me. I just end up wasting so much time guessing at what people were thinking, constantly catering to other people's needs, trying to please others, or trying to leave great impressions. Not only are these things exhausting, but they also don't work. People don't end up liking you or respecting you more because you're a people pleaser. Instead, I realized when I spent the time to find my own perspective, when I dig deeper into my own thoughts, when I ask myself, what is my true opinion of what I'm doing? That's when I truly gained more confidence, clarity, and direction. As I practiced doing that more and more, I began to lose the anxiety over what people are thinking about me. And now, whenever I catch myself guessing at other people's thoughts, I just say, who cares? I don't really consider myself someone with a lot of friends, but I don't really mind that. Even though I'm an extroverted person, I also really enjoy my own company, doing my own projects and hobbies by myself. Of course, I love hanging out with friends and family, but I make sure my relationships are healthy and constructive ones. And I do not mind staying away from people who are draining my energy. A lot of us are afraid to cut off relationships in our lives because we don't want to be cold or cruel, and we're also afraid that we're going to be isolated or lonely. But you have to remember that you cannot change another person, and the only way to improve a very toxic relationship is by disengaging and keeping your distance. Even if these are very close family members that you can't really cut off, you can still choose to not engage in any drama. Just don't participate, don't respond to any provocations. If you're ever unsure about doing something, you should just be honest about it and not commit in advance. Nowadays, flakiness has become so common that it's almost considered acceptable, but it really is not acceptable. If you committed to doing something, if you told other people about it or promised yourself, then don't take your words lightly. Make sure you do that thing no matter what. On the other hand, if you're less than 100% interested in doing something, then it's fine to say no. Nowadays, I take on very little new commitments. One, because I know myself well enough to know what I like and do not like doing. And two, because I know I don't have much more capacity in my life right now to commit to other activities. Outside of my work, my family, and my health, I'm very selective about taking on new commitments and activities. I'd rather have an easy, empty schedule so that I can relax than a schedule packed with events that I'm half interested in. There are too many harms of overconsumption to list them here, but one of the biggest is its ability to clutter up your home and your mind. Whenever that desire of a material good first pops up in your head, you can probably already feel that your mind becomes immediately scattered and distracted. You think about how and where you're gonna get this thing. You imagine how your life will improve when you have this thing. And let's say you just can't get this thing, you end up obsessing over it, when in reality, you've lived a whole life without this thing, and acquiring this thing will likely change very little about your life. Over the years, I've just learned to shift my mind away from thinking about how physical material goods can improve my life. And the less desire I foster for material goods, the more focus I give to other interesting things in my life, the less stuff I realized I needed. And the less stuff I have and desire, the more clarity and calm I felt in my mind. Next thing to let go of is any preconceived ideas of what success is supposed to look like. Many of us have these either from teachings we received when we were younger, or images we see on our social media, or just ideas and activities from your circle of friends. For me, for example, I used to be so stubborn on the idea that in order for me to be successful, I needed to be this accomplished professional expert in my field, and I needed to earn a good salary. A lot of this came from my mother, whom I looked up to a lot because she was this very intelligent, strong businesswoman. But then later on, I realized that I am so different from my mother. I simply don't have her qualities of ambition, drive, and strength, while other qualities that I have, things like musical and artistic talent, interest in ideas and philosophy, and just ability to relax, are things that my mom really struggles with. So then it felt really silly to use my mother as a model of success for me. Instead, it just makes more sense to find a life that's more ideal and suited to my own personality traits and interests. Since I'm someone who loves to do creative things, to discuss philosophy and ideas, and to watch YouTube channels, then I think it's sufficient and it's great to be able to fill my life with those activities. A nurse friend of mine used to remind me that in comparison to physical pain and sickness, nothing else is a real problem in life. And her words still touch me to this day because it's so true. There are just so much terrible suffering in this world, whether it's sickness and disease, hunger and poverty, or war and destruction. Our daily problems in comparison are so insignificant. We all know this, but sometimes we forget and we dramatize the problems in our lives. Things like traffic frustration, stress from work, fight with a family, or even loss of property. We can produce an outsized emotional response to these things and create so much anguish and sadness within us. I remember during the COVID period, I felt so down and stifled, not because I was sick or in pain or anything, but because I was stuck in a small apartment with my boyfriend. Most of my pain came from this feeling of uncertainty and restlessness, but I way over exaggerated on those by constantly focusing on those feelings. This is something I'm still working on. How to coexist with my negative emotions is probably one of the hardest lessons for me. But by being aware of my negative emotions, as well as many of the positive things in my life, usually I'm able to keep things in perspective and maintain a very positive outlook. In conclusion, living simply is about discerning the few things that are truly important to your life. For some of us, it takes some time to find and figure out what those things are. So it's important to focus inwards and learn about the person you truly are. You can also start by recognizing the noise in the world around you and learning to let those go. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a peaceful rest of the day. Bye.